This is a public skate park. What's more, it's a skate park that allows bicycles. I see BMX bikes and dirt jump bikes here all the time, but if you show up to a skate park like this on a trail bike, you might get some sideways glances. There's some scary people at skate parks. Scooter kids, goths. You don't want to end up on somebody's list. And so today I'm going to talk about how to come correct when you visit a skate park and have a really good time. Now, rules vary. Even at a skate park that allows bikes, trail bikes are sometimes frowned upon as opposed to BMX bikes and dirt jumpers. And it's usually the people at the skate park that frown upon it, and there's a reason for that. Oftentimes, when somebody shows up to a skate park on a trail bike, they don't know how to ride skate park, and so they ride in an unpredictable way. They drop in without a plan. They kind of pedal and meander around the skate park, and it puts everybody on edge. It makes them anxious. What's funny is I kind of feel that way when I see a trail bike show up at a skate park. I try to suppress those feelings, but usually they end up being warranted. But as soon as I see that the person understands the rules, I'm at ease again and I don't really worry about them. They're just another skate park goer. Imagine if you went into a parking lot or on a highway and somebody was driving completely erratically, going against traffic, switching lanes without blinkers. You might be in this experience almost every day, and it probably makes you feel uneasy. Now, while the rules at a skate park are not necessarily set in stone, everybody just expects that skate park goers are going to be behaving in a certain way. Skate parks are about flow. When you drop in, you should have a plan as to where you're going to start, where you're going to end, and kind of what you're going to do in between. And becoming part of the flow of the skate park, riding with other people, is actually really, really fun. It's a lot more fun than riding a skate park without a plan. And so when you get out of your car or when you roll up to the skate park, the very, very first thing you should do is pull up to the side, pull up to the perimeter of the skate park and just observe everything. What you're gonna notice is everybody's kind of hanging out around the perimeter. There'll be people up on the decks of ramps, there'll be people on the side, by the fence, not in the middle of box jumps, not next to rails. They're gonna be along the side waiting to go. And then every once in a while, somebody will drop in, do their run, and probably end up right back where they started. Now, dropping in is a term that can refer to something specific, like dropping into a quarter pipe, but generally it means initiating a run. And when you drop in, you wanna drop in with a plan. When you drop in with a plan, even if nobody else can read your mind at the skate park, they still pick up on it and it puts them at ease. And as long as you're following those simple rules, in my experience, nobody cares what type of bike you're on. You're not a wild card, you're not causing anxiety for everyone. Now you can start having some fun, maybe even making some friends. And so, let's talk about some of the specifics of a skate park. This is a quarter pipe. Now, while it does not equal exactly 1/4 of a pipe, nor is it shaped exactly like one, it is called a quarter pipe, and this one is probably about 5.5 feet tall. Now, you're gonna find these all over skate parks. It's how people air out, it's how they turn around, it's usually where they're dropping in from, and at the top of a quarter pipe, you're almost always gonna find coping. It's just a metal pipe that people use for slides and grinds, also protects that sharp edge of the quarter pipe, especially if it's made out of wood. On the other hand, ramps that have flat profiles like this one are called wedges. Based on what I just explained, you might say, well, that's a quarter pipe and that's a wedge. Kind of, not really. That's a lip and that's a landing. If you've ridden a bike park, this would be kind of like a tabletop, but at a skate park, it's called a box jump, or at least it was when I was riding BMX. When two quarter pipes are backed up to each other, that's called a spine, like what we have here. And as you can see on the top of the spine, there's also coping. And then there are bowls. There are small bowls like this one. And there are large bowls like this one. If you can fill it up with water and turn it into a swimming pool, it's a bowl. And there are plenty of things this skate park does not have, but for the most part, you're gonna see a lot of wedges and quarter pipes. So, how do you ride this stuff? So if you want to practice your skills at a skate park, the best time to do it would be now, super early in the morning, because there's nobody here. Even if you come early enough on a weekend, there's usually nobody at the skate park. There are exceptions, but you want to practice your skills when there are fewer people there because it's less intimidating. You can kind of try the same thing over and over again without hogging the skate park. So first, let's talk about dropping into a quarter pipe. That is, initiating your run from the top of a quarter pipe. It's a really convenient place to hang out, and so you probably want to learn this pretty early on. Now, a quarter pipe this small, 5.5 feet tall, you could almost drop into it straight, just kind of roll in, but that's not a good habit to get into, and you definitely don't want to do that on a large quarter pipe. Another thing you probably don't want to practice is dropping into a quarter pipe with wet coping, like this coping is. So the way you want to drop in is with your bike parallel to the coping. Now, I have a tendency to do it with my bike like this, as opposed to like this, right? I drop in on my left side because that's my dominant direction. How do you know what your dominant direction is? Well, if you ride with your right foot forward, you're probably going to want to drop in on your left. And if you ride with your left foot forward, you're probably going to want to drop in on your right. I know people that are all mixed up in their dominant directions for tricks and dropping in, so there are exceptions. Just don't think about it and it'll kind of happen naturally. So first of all, I hope it goes without saying, you have to be standing up. If you're trying tricks and jumps and stuff while sitting down on your bike, I'm just gonna recommend you don't go to a skate park. Sorry, I'm just being honest. But back to dropping in on a quarter pipe, you can kind of just roll up to the coping and steer in. If it's wet like this, you definitely don't want to do that. But if it's dry out, generally, your tire will just roll right over it into the ramp and you'll ease into the transition. Now, from experience, I have a habit of kind of lifting my tire over the coping, and I recommend you do that if you feel comfortable. Just roll up parallel to it as close to the edge as possible, pop your tire over the coping, and just ease into the transition. If nobody's around, you could practice by dropping into the lip of a box jump. It's typically not as steep as a quarter pipe, but it has kind of the same shape and you can kind of get the motions down. Just start parallel as close to the edge as you can, and then just roll in. When approaching a quarter pipe from the bottom, you can use it kind of like a berm. You can go up on the quarter pipe and use it to help you turn around. Now, what you want to practice and learn how to do is go straight up the quarter pipe, kind of hop your bike up in the air a little bit, make a 180-degree turn, and come back down. If you do it in increments, you'll just kind of learn it automatically, and obviously start on smaller quarter pipes and work your way up to bigger ones. Now, as you practice riding quarter pipes, you want to learn how to pump. When you go up the quarter pipe, you want to shift your weight back. And then when you go down the quarter pipe, you want to shift your weight back again. That's going to help you generate speed. It's going to help you go higher up the quarter pipe. And actually, you can ride an entire skate park without pedaling. That's the right way to do it. If you're flowing, if you're catching all the transitions, it feels really good. As you grow more comfortable riding quarter pipes, you might want to start getting your tires over the coping. That's called airing out. Back in the day, I was pretty good at airing out. I can't do it so much anymore, but you need only build on what you learned on the quarter pipe, just take it a little bit higher. It can all be done progressively at a skate park. So we talked about dropping in and riding quarter pipes. What if you want to get back up on top of this deck? Well, I'll show you. On a really small quarter pipe like this, it's really easy. All you have to do is throw your weight forwards as you're riding up it. Now, you can throw your weight forwards and roll right up onto the deck, or you can kind of put your feet out as you go over the coping and stabilize yourself. On a larger, steeper quarter pipe, you might not be able to throw your weight over the deck, and so instead, turn and catch yourself with your foot. And you're on the deck. Now, if you mess up attempting such a maneuver, you really want to be on this side of your bike. So toss your bike out that way, and you'll just slide down the quarter pipe and not really get that hurt. Might get a little scraped up, but it's better than cracking your head open. You can also use quarter pipes to practice aerial tricks using a fly out. You want a quarter pipe like this one with a big spacious deck without a lot of people waiting on it. Just pedal at the quarter pipe with a good amount of speed, fly out onto it, and you'll go straight up in the air and plop back down on the deck without covering much distance. It's a safe way to practice. It gives you confidence, And you can practice tricks without traveling at Mach Chicken. Now, as you get more comfortable dropping into quarter pipes, you're eventually going to encounter one that's really steep. This has about 2 feet of vert. There's no curvature, it's just completely vertical. And the truth is, there's not that big of a difference dropping into a quarter pipe that has vert. You just need to catch the transition a little later. Now, I learned this on a much bigger quarter pipe than this, and I encountered Jamie Bestwick. He's still legendary, but even back when I was 13, he was a legend. I asked him, how do I drop in on this? He told me, just lift your tire over the coping and then feel for the transition. And I did it and it worked. So Jamie, if you ever see this, thank you. That explanation was just what I needed for some strange reason. And then there's the spine. Now, spines look a little bit scary and intimidating, and for good reason. There's lots of ways you can get broke off on a spine if you don't know how to ride one. But if you do ride one, it's really fun. It's a really cool feeling to just catch the transition smoothly and go over it. First off, don't go straight over the spine. If it's a really small spine, you can kind of get away with that, but it's a really bad habit because big spine, if you go straight over it, you're gonna get broke off. Instead, what you want to do is think about how you drop in to a quarter pipe. After all, a spine is 2 quarter pipes up against each other. When you're dropping into the quarter pipe, let's say you drop in left. When you get up to the top of the spine, you want to have your bike parallel with the coping, ready to drop in left. So when you're going up the spine, turn to your right, get your bike situated, and then drop in left on the other side. Now, another good way to explain this is you want to transfer. And by transferring to a different part of the spine, you kind of automatically do what I'm describing. And like I mentioned before, there are people who do it all sorts of different ways. There are always exceptions, but whatever way you learn, that's the way you're gonna get comfortable doing it. If you know how to ride any kind of jump or tabletop on a mountain bike trail, you can ride a box jump. It's just a lip and a landing, come at it with some speed, and jump it. Now, this one by design was placed right next to a wall, and you can see all the little marks and smudges on the wall. That's from people doing wall rides and wall taps. You can actually ride up to this with some speed, turn your bike sideways, get the tires on the wall, and then jump off the wall back onto the landing. That's kind of the hard part. Now, another thing quarter pipes are great for is learning how to ride fakie. Fakie is just another word for backwards when it comes to bicycles. I kind of find it fun to do sitting down for some reason, and if you have 2 quarter pipes, you can roll up one and back up the other. Now, another thing you can do is learn how to whip out of a fakie roll. So you can kind of turn your bars really hard and hit the brake. It's just something fun to do, and it actually helps you do certain tricks. Now, especially if there's nobody around, riding fakie is something you can learn just by repetition. Just roll up the quarter pipe, roll back down backwards, and try and go further each time. You're not really gonna get hurt doing it if you don't go up very high and get up a whole bunch of speed. Now, one thing you should be aware of is your pedals are going to kick backwards, unless you have a free coaster, which you probably don't. It took me hours and hours of repetition as a kid to learn how to ride fakie, but now I can pretty much do it for as long as I want. It's really fun, and it's pretty impressive. Learning to ride a skate park is about learning to ride transitions, and once you've built that algorithm into your brain, you're gonna execute it anywhere you go and become a better rider. So now that you know how to ride a skate park, show up early one day when nobody else is around, learn some skills, and then when you come when it's crowded, you'll have some runs to work on, and you can become part of the flow instead of working against it. If you enjoyed this video, you could have had it 2 weeks early on Substack. There we post all the videos from both of our channels 2 weeks early, and we post weekly articles from some of the most interesting voices in mountain biking. Even if you sign up on the free tier, you're gonna get some freebies now and then. Visit bermpeak.substack.com or click the link below. I hope you had fun riding Skatepark with me today. I hope you learned something in this video, and if you didn't, I hope you at least found it entertaining. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.